So to wrap up for tonight, I kind of want to go through what worked, what didn't, and then talk about the results of the Star City Open this last weekend in Syracuse, and just kind of think about how they interact with this. So things that were good. Eldritch Evolution was great. Every time I cast this, I felt like I was making some meaningful gain on the board or just breaking open a game. So definitely worth having this card in a deck. It's definitely an engine that's very powerful and something that I expect to see more of. Um, this might not be the perfect shell for it, but this card was definitely worth it. Similarly, having the combo kill was really good. Um, I don't think I'd want to be just fair Eldritch Evolution. I think that being able to race up to the combo kill gives you a lot of nonsense insurance, which is a big deal in Modern. So I would want Kiki or Archangel Athune, but I'm willing to test the other one too. Gavany Township was insane when I drew it every time. Definitely want a second. I don't think you can play more than two with Kiki in your deck, but this card's just historically always been great in these decks, and I just only having one was a mistake, and that's all I can say about it. Um, it's just really easy to win games that you shouldn't with it, just because like you have crappy creatures, and then you have a township, and then they're good creatures. Kitchen Finks was really good, having a solid three that stuck around pretty well, so you could reliably jump to the fives was nice. The only thing I didn't like about it was that it has three power, which was actually by design with the card because they found it was too good in testing with Revelark at the time, and they were both legal and standard. So definitely won a couple things. Was very happy with the card. Revelark also very happy. The Kiki Revelark setup lets you jump into combo if you need or super grindy value, and it's just great to have that choice game one. And I think Revelark is. I mean, you could have Thragtusk in that slot, but I think Revelark is just generally a more powerful grindy card. Um, so I would choose to go that route. But you definitely want access to it game one, I believe. Selfless Spirit also shocked me how good it was. It's basically everything I always want Spellskite to be. It can attack. You do a lot of crappy beatdown like Gavany Township and random Kitchen Finks. So this card can apply pressure in that way. It also protects all your other things from removal the way Spellskite would. But the other big thing is that I actually kind of enjoyed how it broke combat against large creatures. Um, just like if you have a Selfless player, it's really hard for your opponent to attack into anything you do. It's kind of interesting, like Dauntless Escort. This effect previously existed on like a 3/3 for 3, and it was just not good. But just like being a flyer that randomly chip shots away, costing one less, just all great things. Things I don't like. Razorverge Thicket. I'm just going to talk about this one first. I hate this card. I drew it, and I'm like, oh man, I want to cast a 4-drop. And this deck's reasonably 4-drop heavy, and you just can't. Like, it's just so bad when that happens. I can't handle playing this card. I would cut it immediately from this deck. Spellskite, I think, is a little. It's good. It's a good hate card to have main deck. It covers a decent number of things. It covers some burn spells. It covers Infect. It covers Bogles. But the problem is that how much do you care about adding a little value against burn in your deck that already has all this life gain? How much do you care about adding slight value against the hexproof Bogles deck, like whatever someone might play that is having one spell skate going to beat them? I think realistically you can get the same value against Infect with like an Is It Staticaster or something. And just you can choose something else that does the same thing as Spellskite because you already have Selfless Spirit for the Protect My combo. So I think Spellskite's kind of redundant. A liability is just like a random crappy 0/4. A liability is an artifact. Just Kolagon's Command is really the big deal there. I'm just like not thrilled about it and could easily see cutting it. Um, I don't want to say I'm not thrilled about Court of Calling, but I definitely don't think your deck should be Court of Calling centric after having played it. Uh, you definitely want a little bit of that in this specific build, but uh, I think that the big takeaway is that you can build a deck that is just Eldritch Evolution, I think. Because Court of Calling is a very different game plan. Still fine, but I'd be willing to bet that one is cuttable, if not more. Wall of Omens was fine, but I wanted to point out that I kept getting these spots where it's hard for me to get under counters, under like Snap Mana Leak and stuff like that. I wanted a little more mana, and I think that you want some number of Wall of Roots, especially if you're still playing a bunch of courts. Like cutting them all is not a good decision, and I think that Wall of Omens has to go if you're doing that. Just so you have not all of them, but at least one has to go if you're putting in more Wall of Roots. Just you need active creatures, not just random blockers. Eternal Witness was not super important. I don't really know if you need to. It's okay to have, but the slots are usually pretty important in this kind of deck, and I could easily see cutting one. Scavenging Ooze didn't. It was fine, but it's not going to do enough against the graveyard decks. Just or at least most of the Dredge won SCG Syracuse, Ross Merriam's first win on the SCG tour this year, I believe, and this card's not going to stop Dredge. It's going to slow it down, but your best bet against Dredge is just Race. So I don't actually really like this card. It's okay in mirror or like pseudo mirrors against Abzan deck or Abzan Company, but I think if you want a graveyard hate card, you got to go big with Anafenza the Foremost, which we'll get to in a second. The Magus of the Moon, I didn't feel like I played against a matchup where I really wanted it or like really needed it. There's some free roll win potential, but I think that Eldritch Evolution is so powerful that I don't think you have to just like slam a Magus of the Moon into your opponent to win when you do that. I'm definitely going to play the card sideboard, and it's definitely going to be around to steal some games and matches, but I don't think it's a requirement main deck. Heroic Thar, I'm not sacrificing a 4-drop to find this card. It's just not happening. I don't want this card in my deck. There was an Elvish Norn that Jeff Hoagland cut because it was just too much over the top, like too big, not really something you actually get to. And this is getting cut for the same reason. Realistically, it's just because whatever you sack to Eldritch Evolution, you're gonna it's very hard to just have a random 4-drop around that you want to sack. You're fine playing your 3-drop and sacking it, your 2-drop and sacking it, but 4 to 6 is just too long of a game being played. And then Archmage. It was a little hard to get a blue. This card's very good. It's a little hard to have a blue mana up with it, so it was a little less powerful than I thought. That may also have to do with the decrease in Wall of Roots. We also just didn't play against decks that was going to immediately KO, so I wouldn't immediately cut it, but I wouldn't be surprised if blue versus black. I think is like a real debate as opposed to before where I thought that line was so powerful I would just automatically start on blue. Whereas now I think that like Orzhov Pontiff plus Anafenza the Foremost, like Jeff played this last weekend, might just be a better package at times. So leaves us with a couple slots. We're cutting 2 Razor Verges so we can add a basic and a township. That's pretty easy. The Firelit Thicket was okay too. Though the mana, you might need to cut the Firelit Thicket with another township because that's too many colorless lands. Sideboard is fine. I wish there was a way to, let me know if you know of one, but to kill Kalidas very easily. The one that I thought up of off the top of my head was Slayer of the Wicked, but that card is so bad against everything else that I don't think you can afford to do that. It's like a tutorable effect. It's just really awkward that it's just like in a bad spot to handle for a lot of the white, green, red cards. I don't really like Fiend Hunter against it, honestly. I think the Fiend Hunter is just going to die against the Johnny Grixis decks that board into Kalidas. Thragtusk was great. Just having a big doofus to find that gains life and beats your opponent to death was absurdly good. Didn't really get to Thrawn anyone, but I can see it being good still. Obviously you need this. Obviously you probably still want one of those. Even if I have a Magus of the Moon, I'd probably want a Fulminator Mage in the sideboard just because against Scapeshift, I'd much rather have this card. I still really like Engineered Explosives right now. Lightning Helix, that's a good point. That card might be negotiable because you have more tutors for life gain creatures against burn. So yeah, I think this deck's in a reasonable place. I think that the win of Dredge this last weekend is a problem for it because of the splash damage off Graph Digger's Cage. But we'll see whether people go with Cage or with Leyline of the Void or what happens. So I think this deck's very powerful. The tuning's very important. There's definitely been times where, back when playing Kiki Pod, which is very similar, I've gone within a week from thinking the deck is unplayable to thinking the deck is absurdly good just by shifting my focus with the deck and having the right configuration. And I think right now this deck had some promise, but the configuration's not quite right. So I think the big thing is finding a way to beat Kalidas because that card's obnoxious, and beyond that, some small tweaks here and there, and I think this deck's pretty close to ready to take something down.